All right, today we are tumbling right down the rabbit hole to unpack one of the greatest, weirdest puzzles in all of literature, Wonderland. But we're not just here to retell the story. Oh no, we're here to take it apart, piece by piece, to map out the bizarre, twisted logic that makes this place tick. And we're going to see what happens when a perfectly normal, reasonable person gets dropped right into the middle of all that madness. Let's kick things off with a thought from Alice herself. Before any of this wild adventure even gets started, she's already questioning things. She wants a book with pictures, with dialogue. She wants to be engaged. And that's just perfect because that's exactly how we're going to explore her story, through visuals and a good conversation.
And really, this is the big question for our entire deep dive today. I want you to think of Alice's journey less like a fairy tale and more like a grand experiment. Alice, she's our control group. She's a kid from Victorian England, taught rules, manners, and reason. Wonderland? Well, that's the chaos variable. We're here to see what happens when you smash the two together.
So, our experiment kicks off on a totally normal, kind of sleepy afternoon. Alice is bored, sitting by the river, and then the first little crack in reality appears. It's a white rabbit. Okay, weird, but not impossible. But then he starts muttering, "Oh dear, I shall be late." And the real kicker? He pulls a watch out of a waistcoat pocket. A waistcoat! That's the detail, the anomaly that's just too strange to ignore. She has to follow. And just like that, she's falling. But here's the thing. It's not that stomach in your throat, terrifying plunge you'd expect. The book says either the well was very deep or she fell very slowly. So right away, time itself is acting funny, stretching out, giving her a moment to actually look around and think. And as she's floating down, she sees the weirdest stuff. The walls of this well are lined with cupboards and bookshelves. She even has enough time to casually grab a jar of orange marmalade, which in a bit of a letdown turns out to be empty, so she just places it in another cupboard as she floats by. This isn't gravity, not as we know it. This is a slow, almost gentle drift into a whole new reality.
And the fall finally ends. Not with a crash, not with a bone-shattering impact, but with a gentle thump-thump onto a heap of sticks and leaves. And she's not hurt, not even a scratch. This soft landing is the first real, concrete proof she has that the basic rules of her world, they don't apply here anymore.
Okay, so she's arrived, and now Wonderland starts its assault on her brain in earnest. And its first target? The simple, reliable rules she's always counted on, like cause and effect and the basic physics of the world she just left behind. So let's define the operating system of this place. We're calling it Wonderland logic. And it's not just random chaos, it's more like anti-logic. It's a system designed to be broken. Alice knows that in her world, if you hold a hot poker, you get burned. Cause, effect. Simple. But here, cause and effect have been totally severed. Drinking from a bottle or eating a cake isn't a simple action, it's a total gamble, and the results are anybody's guess. And you can see this Wonderland logic perfectly in her very first puzzle, just trying to get into a pretty garden. Every logical step she takes just creates a new, opposite problem. She's too big for the door, right? So she drinks the Drink Me potion and shrinks, but now she's too tiny to reach the key on the table. So she eats the Eat Me cake to grow, but she overshoots it and becomes 9 feet tall. The system isn't meant to be solved. It's built to make logic completely useless.
This just lays it all out, doesn't it? In our world, the rules are consistent. A key is for a lock, cake is for, eating. But in Wonderland, all those relationships are totally arbitrary. The world is just systematically pulling the rug out from under her, attacking the very foundation of how she understands anything.
So Wonderland's attack isn't just on the outside world. Once it's completely destabilized physics and logic, it turns inward. The next target is Alice's own mind, her knowledge, her memory, and even her very sense of who she is. Now, this isn't just a casual philosophical question. After her body has been shrinking and growing like crazy, she asks this out of genuine, deep confusion. She wonders, was I the same when I got up this morning? She thinks she can almost remember feeling a little different. That solid ground of, I am Alice, is starting to feel like quicksand. And here's the hard data showing just how mixed up she's getting. She tries to grab onto the solid facts she learned in her schoolroom, but her own brain betrays her. 4 times 5 is suddenly 12. London is the capital of Paris. What? Even the little poems she memorized as a kid come out all wrong, twisted into these bizarre verses about crocodiles. It's like Wonderland is actively hacking her brain and corrupting the files. And this is the devastating result of all that confusion.
When the caterpillar smokes his hookah and demands she explain yourself, this is her honest-to-goodness answer. She literally cannot explain who she is because the who keeps changing from one minute to the next. She's lost the words to describe herself because the self she's trying to describe is no longer a fixed point.
The assault on her identity really hits its peak right here. After she nibbles on that mushroom, her neck shoots up, growing incredibly long. A pigeon sees her and applies its own flawless, airtight Wonderland logic. It thinks, little girls don't have long necks, serpents do. Oh, and you eat eggs? Well, serpents eat eggs. Conclusion, you must be a serpent. It's just perfect. In Wonderland, who you are isn't based on what you know to be true, it's based on what the absurd logic of everyone else says you are.
Okay, so if Wonderland completely breaks down logical people like Alice, what about the people who actually live there? In this final section, we're going to meet the natives, characters who show us that madness in this world isn't just chaos. It's a whole different system with its own deeply weird set of rules.
And there it is, the official mission statement of Wonderland, delivered by its grinning, disappearing guide. And the Cheshire Cat? He's not being metaphorical here. He's stating it like it's the most obvious fact in the world. To him, madness is the baseline. It's the norm. He even tells Alice, you must be mad, or you wouldn't have come here. And get this, the cat doesn't just claim to be mad. He proves it with this perfect, twisted little argument. He sets up a baseline for sanity. A dog. A dog growls when it's mad, wags its tail when it's happy. Simple. Then he points out that he does the exact opposite. He uses flawless logic to arrive at a completely insane conclusion. And that is the essence of how minds work in Wonderland. Structured, reasoned madness.
The Mad Tea Party is the ultimate example of this whole idea. I mean, it looks like total chaos, but it's actually run by a set of very strict, very weird rules. The Hatter explains that it's always 6 o'clock because he had a fight with time, personified as a him. They can't ever wash the dishes, so they follow a rigid rule of just moving one place over to get a clean cup. And they ask riddles not to get an answer, but just to pass the time that will never, ever pass. It's a system, really, a prison made of circular, nonsensical rules.
And this is Alice's final judgment. She just can't do it. She can't adapt. She judges the whole thing by the standards of her world. You know, purpose, politeness, making sense, and it comes up completely empty. She is still, through and through, the girl of logic, totally unable and frankly unwilling to accept the deep, profound unreason of everyone around her.
So let's just pull this all together for a second. What we've really been watching is a systematic takedown of a rational mind. Wonderland relentlessly attacks every single pillar of reason she has. The external laws of physics, her internal knowledge and memory, the very idea of a stable self. And it replaces all of it with its own bizarre but somehow internally consistent logic of madness.
Which, of course, leaves us with one last really tricky question. If being sane just means you follow the rules of the world you're in, then in a world where nonsense is the rule, isn't the logical, rational person the one who's truly out of place? I mean, who is the mad one here? The girl who insists that 4 times 5 is 20? Or the entire world that operates as if it's